Sunday morning. I'm Jaden Jefferson, and welcome to this week's Community Focus. This week, a lot of big announcements were made at one government center in downtown Toledo, including a new interim police chief, as well as the city's new prosecutor. And joining me right now is Rebecca Facey, the new City of Toledo Chief Prosecutor. Thanks for joining me.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So you have quite the background, so we're going to dive right into it, starting with your work with the Lucas County Prosecutor's Office. So give people an idea of what your work involved there.
Thank you. Yeah, so I have been an assistant county prosecutor for the past 9 years, handling all of the domestic violence, felony-related crimes here in our community. So I've had a lot of experience trying cases in front of juries here in Lucas County, from homicides and rape cases, domestic violence, stalking, burglaries, kind of run the gamut of all of our most serious and violent crimes here in Toledo.
And that's something that you had mentioned when being welcomed as the new city prosecutor, is that domestic violence is definitely something that's really important to you and very close to your heart. And a lot of times for domestic violence victims, even going to report domestic violence can be a struggle. So getting justice is even more of a struggle. So how do you hope to help get justice for domestic violence victims?
Well, you're absolutely right, Jaden, and it is a struggle. Domestic violence is about power and control. It's a crime, but it's so much more than that as well. It's how relationships play out in really unhealthy ways. And some of that certainly does cross the line into criminal, physical assault, sexual assaults, and the worst of the worst being homicides, which the mayor highlighted, that we had such an increase of domestic violence related homicides in the city this year, which is truly unfortunate. And you're right that it's hard to report and it's hard to seek justice. We know that on average, a victim of domestic violence is assaulted 20 times before they ever even reach out to the police in the first place. And from there, the first offense is a misdemeanor, which is handled in the Toledo Municipal Court at a really high volume. They have thousands of domestic violence cases there every year. And once someone has been convicted, or if the injuries are severe enough, then they're handled in the common pleas court as felonies. So part of what I have been able to do in common pleas and look forward to bringing to the Toledo Municipal Court is evidence-based prosecution, not relying on victims to come to court and prosecute their own cases, but focusing on the evidence that we have in each of these cases. And when one calls, photographs taken by officers or the victim on scene, body-worn cameras that Toledo police officers and many of law enforcement in our community are able to use now, medical records, things like that, that can help put the pieces, the evidentiary pieces together to prove a case, regardless of whether a victim comes to court to testify or not.
And coming into this new role, obviously, you're going to have a lot on your plate because domestic violence, of course, is an issue that just skyrocketed during the pandemic when people were forced to stay at home. And a lot of these things went unnoticed. So what would you say is going to be the way in which you're going to go piece by piece and start to handle some of these issues?
Great question. And there is a lot of work to be done and a lot of conversations to be had with all of the hardworking people in Toledo Municipal Court who have been handling this increase in domestic violence and just community strife in general during the pandemic. So looking forward to sitting down with each of the different players who all play a role in handling these cases, hearing from them about what works, what doesn't work, what we need to improve on. But I'm excited to work with the prosecutors specifically on these issues of domestic violence and bring some of those tools, the evidence-based prosecution tools, to add more to their toolkit when it comes to handling these cases and being able to move them forward.
And as I just mentioned, gun violence is also a big issue when it comes to homicides here in the city of Toledo. We have 26 unsolved ones from 2022. So what's going to be the goal in getting justice for victims and their families?
Well, the fortunate thing here in Toledo is that everyone is focused on this, and we are not for lack of caring or effort in trying to get to the bottom of this issue, from our law enforcement through the courts and certainly the city and county administrations that are putting a lot of resources and focus on this issue to bring justice to the families who have lost family members, as well as to create safer streets and safer homes for the rest of us living in this community so that we are able to feel safe and stable here at home and when we go outside. And I certainly feel that. I'm raising, small children here myself, and, want us to be safe and live here for a long time. So, what we can do to address these issues, I think, are the conversations that we're already having, but recognizing that we all have a role to play. It's no one piece of the system's responsibility. It's all of our responsibility to figure out what role we play in it, and to work together to make it better for everyone.
For sure. And you started at a pretty good time. It's a fresh slate. It's 2023. It's a new year. And now you have some different goals that you're going to have to start to set. So what would you say are going to be some of your goals as the new prosecutor?
That's right. I'm so grateful for this fresh start and a new year, new opportunities. And like I said, really starting to have these conversations with everyone who plays a role in this system, hearing everyone out. I think that's the most important thing that any leader can do, is to listen, hear everyone out, and take that information and start to move us forward so that everyone feels heard, and also understands that they are a part of the conversation.
And that community involvement is so important, and just that collective community responsibility as well. So Rebecca Facey, the City of Toledo's new Chief Prosecutor, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jaden. Have a great week.
Thank you. And that's this week's Community Focus. Have a great Sunday.